El Maestro Speaks.
El Maestro Speaks.
El Maestro Speaks.
Podcast.
Alright, so how are you everyone? Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright. Another episode of El Maestro Speaks podcast coming to you wherever you are. Okay. So actually this is a double take. Um a rare recording of an episode. This is the only episode that I have to do this. The topic that I talked about and I'll be talking about is if what happened this week. And it's a little heavy for me. Although I was in the middle of recording and I choked out. Can't I can't even get my thoughts straight, and I just stopped recording and then uploaded it. And when I wake up in the morning, I was thinking of it, looking back, and it's not good for me. Um, it's a little bit too emotional, so there's that. Anyway, wherever you are in this part of the world, as always, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really appreciate that. And again, as usual, if we don't have conversation, we'll be talking to each other. You put me in the background. I'll talk while you do your thing, your review, or whatever you're doing out there. And I hope, um, you know, you can get something from whatever we're going to be talking about in this episode. So, like I said, this episode is a little bit heavy, so warning you guys already. Um, and before I am going to continue, I would just also like to put a little disclaimer here before we are going to start. Um, Topic I'll be talking about today is a little bit sensitive, and everything that I'm going to say here, as usual, does not represent um, my job, does not represent the department that I work for, and the philosophy, vision, and mission of the department I'm working for. Things I'm going to say here are solely my personal opinion and views. And these personal opinions and views are influenced by things I've seen, I have read, and observed. Now, um, for sure, there'll be opinions out there that's too different from what I have, and I respect that, and I hope you will respect mine too. Um, if you think my views and my point of view is wrong, you can always give me more information. Like I always say in this podcast, I'm not married to my opinion. And if I will validate those data and take a deep view on it, then I might be able to change the opinion that I'll be sharing with you guys today or tonight.
Blackbird fly into the light of the long dark night.
was actually choosing not to put this thing here, background music, but I kind of needed it because I'd be having maybe a lot of long pauses here again. Um, Things that we'll be talking about is a little bit heavy, just like I said. And like I said, we are going to talk about what happened this past week. For sure, you already knew, especially if you're in the Philippines, that there was a shooting that happened in one of the national high school here in the Philippines. And the perpetrators are minors. So that's what's going on this week. That's what happened last week. And here is where the issues will come in, because in the Philippines we have the I forgot the name of the law, but we have a law here in the Philippines, and I'm sure pretty much in other countries too, if they're especially if they're a member of the United Nations, wherein there's a certain age of children wherein they are exempted from criminal liability. That means um, they, if they commit a heinous crime, they won't get punished. They are exempted from criminal liability, taking into consideration their age. And that in the Philippines is, I think, 15 years old in and below 15 or below 15 years old, if I'm mistaken. So there's that. And the perpetrator, um, the shooters are pretty much in the category. Um, so that's what happened. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of online discussions regarding this law. And of course, I'm going to give my opinion later on about this too. And yeah, so that's what's happening. Pretty much during the opening of this school year, um, there's a lot of news regarding school-related violence. I even saw a video of a girl stabbing her classmates. I think whatever was the reason of the violence, yeah, it's not, it's unexcusable. Just took the ball pen and stabbed the girl on the shoulders. I also personally witnessed a yeah a somewhat kind of school related violence. Just I think that was on July 15th. Was driving, going to take my daughter from her babysitter. So was driving along the road, and I saw these two um, high school. I think they're grade 7, grade 8. I would guess that's how old they were. They're too small. They're walking and they're following group of girls and one guy. So I was following them. They're walking along the road. I was following them, and all of a sudden, this one of the guy, because there's two of them. One of the kid just suddenly ran, jumped, and kicked the boy with the girls. The boy who is in the company of the girls just kicked him for no apparent reason. Just I don't know. Maybe they just got jealous because I don't know, whatever reason. Just kicked the guy. You can see the reaction of the boy who got kicked. That he was surprised, scared at the same time. And then now you can see the body posturing of these two kids. Like they're now preparing to fight. One of them is really actually removing his slipper, maybe so that when fight ensues, a little better. So I blow my horn on them. They saw me and they ran away. Just that was the opening of this school year. So yeah, I I'm not saying that when we were in high school we are saints, or we did things too when we were in high school. But not to the extent that we go think of shooting the entire school, you know.
Boy, you may not understand.
Yeah. So I guess part of that is high school institutions or school institutions together with the parents and together with all the stakeholders should tighten security. And actually, there's one proposed law. It just came out because of this. They're proposing a plantilla or a position, a permanent position for security guards in all schools, and that will be good. That is one good thing that came out of this tragedy. So yeah, there's that. I can say that the violence, the quality, I mean the gravity and the frequency of violence in school is like increasing dangerously. Yeah, I think this is the first school shooting incident that happened here in this country, in the Philippines. And yeah, going back to that, uh, if you've read the news, 3 minors, I want to highlight that minors, I mean students, died, and more than 10 got hurt because of that shooting incident. And yeah, of course, the perpetrators were arrested. Yeah, apparently won't be tried as an adult. Like what I said a while ago, there'll be no criminal liability for them. It's because he is or they are minors. At least that's what I know. So, would you think if we are going to think about what happened there? It's thinking of what would be the reason for the shooting. The first pronouncement of the police is that accordingly these 2 guys are being bullied. Apparently that's not the case. Um, apparently this was planned like weeks and days before. Um, there were some screenshots of the message, and we'll get to that later. That shows if that is a true screenshot of messages between the two. It would show that they planned this for a long time. You know, one glaring evidence that you can see is that the 14-year-old is, or yeah, wearing, was wearing a. Let me just turn that off for a while. Is wearing a black shirt with some letter markings, logos in front of it. And there is a picture that also showed the Sandy Hook shooter in the United States wearing same type of clothing. So we're like, I was thinking that this is maybe they were influenced by an online cult, brainwashed by an online group that they became a member of, or one of the online cult very popular. It is really hell bent on, yeah, spreading dangerous and yeah, dangerous harm to people is the 764. Yeah, I heard that one before. And yeah, if you won't believe that, you should. You know, you know how we have influencers in YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, so on and so forth, TikTok. They are called influencers for a reason. You know, they wear things like that to influence their followers to do the same. And it's no different with these online cults. The difference is that this online cults really focused on harming people, and they stay as a group. These are like psychos staying together as a group, you know. And I think and I suspect that the kid, these kids were influenced by this group. It's not far from possible that they were, you know. Um, I've seen some evidence of that. These cults will even tell the child to commit suicide, to self-harm, like slash on the wrist, take a picture of it, send it to them. They have checklists with what they're going to do. So, parents, you know, it's not because your children are staying at home, okay, that it means that they are not being influenced by the outside world. You know, it's like it's very difficult to become a parent now because you know back in the day when we were the children. It's very easy to police us because once we're out, yeah, for sure, there's the influence outside. So parents will be calling us, get home. Right now, you will never know. Your child might be staying inside his room or her room, but he is being influenced by somebody in another nation, you know. So, yeah, it's very difficult. And I think there's a wisdom on some laws, especially laws of Australia and other countries, when they're actually banning children under 16 years old to have a social media account. And that's actually wise. That is actually wise. At least you will know. And of course, as a parent, you have every right to filter whatever is going to your child's phone. Excuse me for a while.
It's a rundown bar across the railroad tracks. Get a table for two.
All right. So, yeah, you have every right to filter what's going to your child's phone. There's that, you know. Again, it's the same. It's the same principle. When we were young, when we were the ones who were young, people will filter. Our parents will filter whatever we are going to watch in the television. So it's the same with this. It's no different. They are minors. They need guidance. And who's going to provide that guidance? But you. You're the parent. You're the adult, right? So there's that. All right. So yeah, I would believe there's an online cult influence there, you know. And of course, the government of the Philippines will now have this. Okay, there's looking for how they're going to stop this from happening. We'll be talking about that too. And I guess we will start with that. So, yeah, that thing happened. The shooting happened. And, of course, um, we already know. They're minors, so they won't be having criminal liability. So what's going to happen to them? They will go to the Social Welfare Department of the Government of the Philippines for reformation, character rebuilding. They will stay there with some psychologists and those things to reform them. Yeah. So we'll go back to that later. But for now, what did the government do? All the lawmakers, senators, were saying that they're going to conduct an investigation. And one of the course of the investigation that they're looking through is that they believe, because police are also saying that they believe that these kids were influenced by the violent games that they're playing. Like, I think Gore something. I don't know the name of that game, but now the senator's course of action is to invite the developer of that game to be a resource speaker in the Senate. And now this is where I don't understand this investigation, or what are they trying to achieve in this investigation other than popularity. Why? Because yeah, this is a sensational user. Now I'm sorry, but you know, uh, if you're going to make a good course of action through this investigation, then I would change my mind. But it would look like it is, because the game, if it's really one of the games that these guys are playing, was marked for 18 years old and above. It was clearly indicated there that this game is only for 18 years old. So what lapses did the developers have that you want to point out to them? They clearly marked the game. They clearly marked the game as an adult's game. I don't know. So now, why would you invite them? It is clearly there. What are you trying to accomplish inviting them? You know, I don't agree with that kind of game, but there are some people who likes to play this game. And again, it's the game. You don't want children to play it because of the fear that they might be influenced by it. Then, okay, who's gonna guard them supposed to be? Who should be keeping these kids away from those kinds of games? They should be the one to get invited in the Senate, not the game developer. Are you crazy? I don't know.
I know that she's always there when I need her loving. I know that I never.
Another course of action I saw is a bill saying to, I don't know, banning violent games nationally. I really cannot understand. You're nerfing the world. I think it is really infringing on the freedom of people, those kinds of laws. And I'll be talking about them soon. Infringing on the right of peoples and giving a little room for Filipino people to choose. It's like you're thinking that we Filipinos have no right to decide for ourselves. That's why you're going to make laws like this. Kidding me? Yeah. It's not well thought of. It's like it just came out from them because there's the media here and they have to make a comment somehow to make their name afloat. Okay, amidst this situation, so just release a statement like that. Do course of actions like that. My God, it's not well thought of. Yeah. So another law, and I think this is what I agree on. Okay, is a bill, and actually, just to give a background to this. So back when I was still studying for my master's degree, I have a subject. I don't know what course was that, wherein we were talking about the criminal liability, and we were talking about this CICL, child in conflict with the law, juvenile justice system of our country, of the Philippines, of course. And we were talking about the age of criminal liability. One of my classmates, a high school teacher, said that he disagrees with the law. This is way back in 2012 or 13, if I'm not mistaken, like years ago. He was saying, I disagree with that age. I would prefer the old one, 9 years old. Criminal should be held criminally liable. And then he pointed it out. If he did a heinous crime, but for simple act, like simple, like not so serious, theft, things like that, and those can go to rehabilitation. He pointed it out. I did not understand it. Well, that class, in that class, there's one lady who is a social worker. So of course, naturally, she disagreed with that. And yeah, in my mind, I was thinking of, yeah, if there's a damage to life, damage to a property is excusable for me. With a damage or a life lost, somebody should be held accountable. That's my opinion too. So I kind of agree with that. That was 10 years ago. It passed. I mean, we forgot about it because, life. And then it came back just this week. We're in, you see, there's a life lost and no one's going to be held liable, right? So, I don't know, one senator was proposing to lower down the age of criminal liability to 10 years old for heinous crime like murder, rape with murder, those things. And I think drug related um, offenses for heinous crimes. But for those minor offenses committed by a minor, they would undergo what's happening right now, reformation, character reformation. Excuse me again. And yeah, I I tend to agree with that. I tend to agree with the senator's proposed bill. Why? Uh, Again, before I give my opinion here, I would want to say that my opinion is my personal opinion. It does not reflect the opinion of the department I work for. And before I'm going to say things here, I would like to point out that I do believe in second chances. I repeat, I believe in second chances. Everybody should be given second chances. All right? So, my point of view, my opinion, is that this law that we have, like right now, even none other than, no less than the DILG secretary said that this kids have no criminal liability. They will be turned over to the DSWD, and that is one of the infirmity of this juvenile system law, justice system law. One of the infirmity. One. It means there's a lot. Right, so my opinion is that this law is kind of saying, because we have to remember the perpetrators, the perpetrators of this crime are minors, and the victims are minors too. Those three that got killed are minors. So this law is like indirectly saying it. Well, I'm sorry if you're a minor and you're a victim of a crime perpetrated by other minor. If you're the victim, we're so sorry. Here's a flower. We'll do a little, we'll do a moment of silence for you, light a candle for you, do a very, very heartfelt message for you, post it on Facebook, Instagram, give it to the media. After that, we'll spend our money and our resources, people's money and government's resources, okay, reforming those criminals that did that on you. You know, I mean, flowers in moment of silence to the minor victim and leniency to the minor perpetrator. That's what this law is indirectly telling us, and it pains me, really pains me to think about it. I was telling you a while ago that, yeah, this was the second recording of this episode, because after I said this, I cannot stop tearing up. What was the reason? Because months before this thing happened, another similar case of minor killing minor happened here in the Highlands, particularly in Mountain Province, where a 3-year-old was raped and killed by a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. Minors committing heinous crime to a minor. And again, going back, what is the law saying about this? A moment of silence for the person that died, that minor, spending taxpayers' money to reform the perpetrator. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with spending the money for reformation. But something was removed in between the crime and the reformation. Something must bridge that very wide gap. And what is that? What was taken out of the equation? It's accountability. Accountability. That was what is missing. It was not pointed out in that law.
It's time for us. Someday there'll be a new world, a world of shining hope for you and me.
To those who are listening, I want you to just think of this. Those minors that did that thing will be given thorough, guided, and assisted life to become a better member of the society. While the minor they killed, the 3-year-old in Mountain Province, that died, was killed, won't be having the experience that those that killed her will be having. She won't be having her first dance, her first experience of writing her name in school. She won't be having the experience of having her first crush. She won't be having the experience of having to go through high school. She won't be having the experience of fighting with her mom, with her dad, because of becoming a rebellious teenager. She won't be having that. She will never grow old. And who did that? A minor. And are they going to face the consequence of it? No. That's what's missing in this law right now. And the thing that we need to instill to children is accountability. And that's what I guess we need to try to put in that law. Now, don't get me wrong. When I'm not saying that this law was created by the lawmakers, the senators to protect criminals. No. I believe that they have the very best of intentions in preserving. Youth is the hope of the nation. I believe that youth is the hope of the nation. It is a responsibility, adults, to form them into a useful member of the society. And this law is not helping us in doing that. Pointing it out there that these two shooters, accordingly, if the screenshots of messages floating in the internet is real, they know, they studied the law. They knew what's going to happen to them after committing this crime. They knew. So that's one of the things that we need to point out here. The children nowadays are brighter than us when we were young. They know, especially so that we can just, information is really at the tip of their hands. So easy to search. It's so easy to ask AI to. Information is free, easily accessible today. So they know what's going to happen. It's in their message. They exactly know what's going to happen once they get caught. So, yep, it's time for us to improve the law. Again, I'm saying that this law, when it was created, is that we have the best intention in mind. It's just that let's just say times are changing. Maybe we need to change. We need to adapt. The law needs to adapt with the changes too. I wouldn't think this is going back to the barbaric era. I would think we're just preparing our children to become accountable to whatever they do, because that's what's happening, right? That's what's gone now. It's what's being removed now. With all the laws that was made in protecting the young generation, our children. Okay? What's happening here is that these laws have emphasized too much on the right of these children. But we have forgotten to emphasize on their responsibility. We have forgotten, the law have forgotten to emphasize on accountability, on consequences of actions. You know, these laws that protects the children sometimes became a weapon against those older people, I mean parents and teachers who wants to discipline them, wants to teach them to go through the right way. So, like I said, oh no, nobody listened to that. I deleted that. But what I was saying yesterday was that there are, aside from the juvenile justice system, the child's rights, the child abuse law, and everything, left a very small room for the older generation to discipline and guide them. It tied the hands of the parents and teachers in disciplining their children, you know. And that is a government overreach, if, in my opinion. It's an overreach, you know. You can just imagine you wanting to discipline your child, but then the government says that its hand there saying, yeah, you should not do that, you should do this instead. But what you want is to discipline your child. You know, it's an overreach. It is, you know, it's written in the Bible. It says there's spare the rod, spoil the child. I don't know if that's in the Bible, but it's similar in some sense. That if we spare the rod, we spoil the child. Now, let's not just think about the rod as the literal rod, but let's just think about the rod as the accountability, the knowledge on consequences of things that we should do. If we remove that from them, we will spoil the child. They won't know what's going to happen if they were not trained. They are not knowledgeable that whatever they do has consequence. Whatever law they break has consequence. Yeah. You have spared the rod. The child is spoiled. And what will the child become? Will it become a productive member of the society? I don't think so. I don't think so. So there's that, you know. And yep, did the government fail us here? And as a parent, did the government fail us here? I don't think so. Like what I said a while ago, all the laws created was created with God, with good and noble intentions. It's just that there are things we as human have the blind spot, right? We have the blind spot. And we cannot really, hindsight is always 2020. Hindsight, looking back, will always become 2020. But while going there, we cannot see. There are things that we cannot foresee. So, did the government fail us? No. But as a parent, what are you doing? What are you doing? As an adult task to guide this generation, what are you doing? Okay? Instead of thinking that, well, no, this and that, we should just think, yeah, what can I do so my children will know that whatever he does will have consequence. How will I guide my child so he will grow up to be a disciplined and a good member of society? So, yeah, each one of us is a hand here that we have a role that we need to play. if we want this, if we want a change here, yeah, each one of us, starting from the parents, going to the teachers, and going to the government, you know, yeah, it's the government's role to go and check on the law and amend those that needs amendment. But it's not the government's role to tell the parents how to discipline their child. You know, it's the parents' role to discipline their child, but discipline your child appropriately. Parents and teachers' role to discipline a child, but discipline it because they need to be disciplined, because they made something wrong, not because they made a mistake. That's totally different. Discipline a child because they made something, a wrong thing. Okay? But committing a mistake, that's how child learns. Okay? They made something against the rule or the law. That's when you discipline them. But if they make a mistake, like say for example, drop the vase. The vase was broken. It's really expensive. It's a mistake. Everybody makes that. Don't punish them for that. Okay? But if they broke some laws, then you should show them that there's consequence of breaking rules and laws. Discipline the child when you're not angry. That's when we do over disciplining. That's when you can commit abuse. Discipline the child with the right and amount proper of discipline. You know? Yeah. At times there are different ways of disciplining children, you know? And because and then let's break the notion that when we say discipline it only stands for whipping. No. No, that's not discipline at all. So yeah, each one of us has a role to play here. It's not the government's role to tell you what you do. It's your role as a parent, someone who brought this child up into this world, to guide the child until they are able to go on their own. You know? Yeah. So that's where we are. That's what we can have and what we can take from this incident. Again, it's so sad. And I like to again reiterate this to those people, okay, who are siding on this juvenile justice system that we have right now. That you have to think also that there's a victim there. There is a minor. And what are you going to do? Are you just going to say, well, too bad. You're the victim. Here's a flower for you. Moment of silence. Then we'll go back and take care of the person who killed you. Are you just going to say that? Or is it better that you will say, yeah, this crime was committed. You're a minor. You have a liability. You have to face the consequence of what you did. Okay? You have to go through it. You have to suffer through the consequence. You have to be held accountable. And after that, we will spend time reforming you. How about that for a change? At least we can see that that there's justice that was served to those victims too. Yeah. Again, if those 3 victims of shooting these past days won't wake you up, just think of this. That 3-year-old in the highlands who got raped and murdered. She was crying, asking for her mom for some help while they were trying to kill her. A helpless, innocent little girl. Think of that. And to think that those that did that to her won't face any consequence of what they did. Imagine that's your child. You know, again, I believe in second chances, but there's supposed to be something between that before you go to reforming the person. Must have to go through the consequence of of his or her action. You know, it's what I'm trying to point out here. That and that only. Because what are we trying to train if what kind of children or what kind of next um what kind of next citizen are we trying to train here if we do not train them to face accountability? You know, yeah. That's just again that's just my opinion. And again, opinion the opinion I shared to you today is just based on my observation, based on my views because of the information I saw. And if my opinion differs to your opinion, and you think that your opinion is better, I respect that. But still, please respect the opinion that I have. And you want to change it, send me some data. Let me read through it. And if it will change my opinion, well and good. But if it's not, it's still good. Okay. Every one of us have their opinion, and this is mine. Again, heartfelt condolences to those victims, from the parents to the parents of that little girl, and to the parents of those students who got killed these past days. May God be with you. May God's comfort be upon all of you. And God bless every one of us. I'll see you again in the next one.